May 9, 1945, the war in Europe had ended. Adolf Hitler was dead. The Third Reich had collapsed, but outside Munich, inside a requisitioned German military barracks, something unexpected was about to unfold. An event that would turn a simple surrender ceremony into one of the most intense confrontations of the occupation. 53 high-ranking German officers stood in formation. Their uniforms were still perfectly pressed, their posture rigid, their expressions carefully controlled. Around them stood American and Allied forces, ready to witness what was meant to be a formal and symbolic transfer of power. The American flag was raised slowly into the gray sky. Soldiers stood at attention. The national anthem began to play. This was supposed to be routine, symbolic, final. But what happened next shattered that expectation. As protocol demanded respect for the occupying power, all officers were expected to salute. Instead, 41 of the 53 German officers suddenly snapped their arms upward in the stiff Nazi salute. Sieg Heil Hitler. The words echoed across the courtyard like a gunshot. The American anthem continued to play. The flag kept rising. But in that moment, the ceremony stopped feeling like surrender and became defiance. For several seconds, nobody moved. American soldiers looked at each other in disbelief. Commanders hesitated, unsure if this was provocation or insanity. And at the edge of the courtyard stood General George S. Patton. His expression did not change, but something inside him snapped into focus. When the anthem ended, the Nazi salutes dropped. Silence returned. Then the German senior officer stepped forward to sign the surrender documents, but before he could speak, Patton moved. The breaking point, stop. One word, quiet but absolute. Patton walked down from the platform and crossed the courtyard. Every step echoed. Every eye followed. He stopped in front of the German general. Did I just witness 41 officers under your command salute a dead dictator instead of the flag of the United States Army? The German officer tried to respond calmly, but Patton cut him off. You speak to me of honor. Patton's voice sharpened. You served a regime that destroyed your own country, burned cities, and left millions dead. The courtyard fell into silence. Patton's anger was controlled but unmistakable. You swore an oath to Hitler, not Germany, not your people. To him, the German officer tried to justify it. Professional duty, loyalty, military honor. But Patton refused to accept it. That wasn't honor. That was obedience without morality. The order that shocked everyone, then Patton gave an order that stunned everyone present. Remove their uniforms. The American officers hesitated. A junior officer quietly objected. Mentioning the Geneva Convention, Patton turned sharply. These men just saluted Hitler in front of an Allied flag. They are not acting as soldiers. They are acting as political extremists. The courtyard froze. The German officers realized what was happening. Their uniforms, symbols of rank, identity, and authority, were about to be stripped away. One by one, they began removing them. Buttons undone, medals removed, jackets folded and dropped, boots stepped out of, until 41 German officers stood in undershirts and shorts, barefoot on cold stone, stripped not just of clothing, but of identity. Patton stepped forward again. You think you are soldiers, he said quietly, but soldiers face truth. At his signal, American MPs brought forward photographs, images from liberated concentration camps, Buchenwald, Dachau, Bergen-Belsen bodies piled, survivors skeletal, cremation ovens. Mass graves, the photographs were passed among the German officers. Some refused to look. Others trembled. A few broke down completely. One elderly officer collapsed to his knees. I didn't know, he whispered. I didn't know. Patton's response was cold. You didn't want to know. Patton stepped back. You have two choices. You can remain loyal to Hitler's memory and be treated as unrepentant enemies of humanity, or you can acknowledge what you served and accept reality. The silence stretched, then slowly, General von Rothenberg, The senior officer spoke. "If we acknowledge this, what happens to us?" Patton replied. "You stop pretending, and you start rebuilding, not redemption. Responsibility, one by one." It began a salute, then another, then another. Not Nazi salutes, but proper military salutes, directed at the American flag. "I acknowledge the authority of the Allied powers," von Rothenberg said quietly. "My oath to Hitler is renounced." Within minutes, most officers followed. Some refused. They were taken into custody. Those who cooperated were eventually released and used in rebuilding efforts during Germany's reconstruction. Those who refused faced trials and detention. But the moment in that courtyard became something larger than punishment. It became a lesson that defeat in war is not only military, it is moral, and that obedience without truth can destroy entire nations. Patton's actions that day would remain controversial for decades. Some called it humiliation. Others called it psychological warfare. Some called it necessary. But the question remains, when men refuse to accept reality even after defeat, what is the cost of forcing them to face it?